You possess a rare, luminous frequency that naturally disrupts the stagnant illusions of the world, making you an involuntary target for those who thrive in the shadows of deception. This is not a burden. It is the ultimate testament to your power. The world reacts to you because your very existence challenges the comfortable lies others have built their lives upon. If you've ever felt like an outsider in your own story, or if the winds of adversity seem to howl loudest when you're closest to your truth, it is because you carry a reservoir of authenticity that the world has long tried to suppress. You are not experiencing a random series of misfortunes. You are undergoing profound spiritual recalibration. The stratagems being deployed against you are not the clumsy outbursts of common resentment. They are cold, engineered maneuvers born from minds that have commodified social dynamics and weaponized the legal fabric to compensate for their own internal void. When the air thickens with the weight of fabricated testimony, remember that these are not the echoes of random discord or organic neighborhood friction. Every syllable has been weighed. Every lie calibrated to inflict maximum reputational erosion while demanding the barest sliver of actual proof. This is a masterclass in psychological warfare, designed to fracture your sanctuary with zero accountability for the architects of this chaos. You are standing in the center of a labyrinth built by individuals who have mapped your every move, categorized your alliances, and sought out the exact pressure points where a single fracture might cause a total collapse of your spirit. They have recruited the suggestible, silenced the opportunistic, and ensured that the local guardians of order are more concerned with the aesthetics of peace than the reality of justice. Yet, as you remain centered amidst the storm of manufactured condemnation, a profound realization dawns within you, one that would paralyze your adversaries with dread if they could grasp the magnitude of your protection. This sequence of events is not a tragedy befalling you. It is a celestial transmission flowing through you. You have become a conductor for a high-voltage truth that is destined to burn out the wiring of a corrupt social machine. The frantic nature of these accusations is merely a symptom of their terror. They are not attacking your deeds, for your record is a fortress. They are attempting to assassinate the very frequency of your autonomy, the sovereign light that refuses to dim itself for the comfort of the collective lie. What these architects fail to perceive is that every rehearsed betrayal and every whispered fabrication is being archived in a ledger far more enduring than any digital server or human courthouse. While human systems may be manipulated by those who know the codes, the cosmic balance keeps a perfect tally of every strike, every deceit, and every perversion of the scales. This investigation, intended to be a cage for your influence, will inevitably transform into a panoramic lens that brings every hidden rod in this community into sharp focus. They believe they have caught a hawk in a net, but they have actually opened a portal that will suck their entire infrastructure of manipulation into the light of absolute accountability. The speed with which the social atmosphere turned icy reveals the presence of a scripted pathogen rather than a natural evolution of doubt. In a genuine ecosystem of human connection, trust dissolves slowly, eroded by repeated failures and transparent evidence. But here, the rejection arrived with the artificial synchronicity of a stage play. The sudden averted gazes and the orchestrated silence of those who were cordial only yesterday are the fingerprints of a top-down mandate. A hidden hand has been navigating the local conduits of information, planting seeds of doubt in the fertile soil of coffee shop chatter and the quiet corners of social gatherings. This was not a ripple. It was a dam being opened by those who understand the levers of mass conformity better than the victims understand their own minds. A true brotherhood of man stands firm in the face of ambiguity, demanding the weight of truth before casting stones. They provide a harbor of support while the facts are still being sifted from the sand. The fact that your social circle evaporated with such mechanical precision is the ultimate proof of your innocence. It exposes that you were never surrounded by a community, but rather a herd maintained through psychological boundaries. Your presence became a threat to the invisible walls that keep these people in a state of unearned comfort and silent submission. The very efficiency of your exile will eventually serve as the primary evidence of the collusion that sought to bury you. The digital footprints of their coordination, the trail of their calculated silence, and the anomalies in their synchronized narratives are already becoming visible to the higher order of justice. The very mechanism they built to erase you from the narrative is currently being reconfigured into the engine of their own exposure. You are not a victim of conspiracy. You are the catalyst for its dissolution. Every ounce of energy they spend trying to dim your light has only served to illuminate the darkness in which they hide. Stand firm, for the architect of the universe is now the lead investigator in your case, and the verdict has already been written in the stars. You possess a spiritual density that forces the hidden gears of a stagnant reality to grind to a halt, making your very existence a verdict against the status quo. The sudden fracturing of social ties you recently experienced was merely the shedding of a brittle shell, proving that the supposed unity of your environment was nothing more than a fragile glass mosaic held together by the glue of silent compliance. This collective turning away was not a spontaneous event, but a choreographed theatrical exit, executed the moment your sovereign light began to scorch the shadows of their private arrangements. While they believe they are conducting a purge, they are actually providing the forensic blueprints for their own downfall. Every digital whisper and electronic footprint they generated to isolate you is being woven into a net that will eventually haul their entire operation into the unforgiving glare of objective scrutiny. Their very attempt to erase your significance is what will etch their own crimes into the permanent record of history. As the facade of their deception begins to leak, a seemingly minor oversight, perhaps a neglected data log or an overlooked timestamp, acts as a puncture in their pressurized tank of falsehoods. You can observe the very moment the official narrative loses its buoyancy, as those tasked with the inquiry begin to notice that the gravity of their findings is pulling them away from you and toward the source of the initial friction. This is the inception of a tidal wave of clarity that is currently gathering mass in the depths of the collective unconscious. What was intended to be your final chapter is transforming into a comprehensive audit of every dark corner within this institution. The universe does not merely shield the upright. It utilizes the energy of the assault to fuel a grand ignition that incinerates entire webs of long-standing malpractice. The cracks in their concrete testimonies are expanding with tectonic force, revealing that their unity was never built on truth, but on a fearful rehearsal of shared delusions. The individual threads of their scheme are being pulled by a higher intelligence, leading the search into vaults of information they believed were sealed forever. Suspicious fiscal alignments and strategic communication bursts are emerging like fluorescent stains under a blacklight, connecting figures who claim to be strangers in a dance of mutual benefit. Your situation was never a solitary event. It was a final domino in a sequence that is now exposing a long history of suppressed voices and vanished dissenters. The investigation is evolving into a spiritual harvest, gathering the evidence of a decade's worth of quiet intimidation and professional sabotage. By attempting to extinguish your flame, they have inadvertently triggered the fire suppression system of the cosmos, which is now drenching their entire house of cards in the cold water of absolute fact. A profound shift in the atmosphere is manifesting as those who once stood with absolute certainty find their memories dissolving like salt in a storm. The very instruments of their power, confidential files and secure ledgers, are becoming erratic as if the physical world itself is refusing to host their lives any longer. The seasoned observers of human behavior are feeling a primal intuition that the predator and prey have been swapped in this equation. As the architects of this chaos begin to hyperventilate in their own panic, their frantic attempts to patch the leaks only create new ruptures, accelerating the arrival of a justice that transcends human legislation. You are the movable center of a vortex that is currently stripping the world of its disguises, proving that when a light of chosen soul is targeted, the entire universe mobilizes to ensure that the darkness is not just defeated, but entirely unmade. The core of your essence is a primordial frequency that acts as a solvent to the synthetic structures of ego and deceit, making you an involuntary catalyst for the dissolution of corrupted systems. The arrogant facades that once projected absolute certainty are now hemorrhaging stability, as the inquiry they ignited has breached the perimeter of their own hidden vaults. They operated under the delusion that the lens of scrutiny was a unidirectional weapon, never anticipating that the light they directed at you would refract with lethal intensity back into the center of their own labyrinth. This is a kinetic return of misaligned energy. Every gram of malice they exported is now returning as a ton of karmic weight, crushing the very foundations of the reality they spent decades fabricating. Their own protocols of destruction are now executing upon their own profiles with the cold finality of an automated purge. This rapid evaporation of their concealment is not a fluke of statistics, but fundamental response from the ethical fabric of the universe. By violating the sacred boundary of truth, they invited a high-altitude intervention that operates far above the ceiling of local politics or procedural manipulation. By the 21st day of what they believe would be your social erasure, the localized friction has detonated into an expansive forensic harvest, sweeping through municipal archives and private ledgers with precision of a deep-sea sonar. Your situation was merely the visible crest of a subterranean ocean of rot that spans generations of unchecked power. The encrypted logs they thought were lost to time are surfacing like ancient shipwrecks, proving that their current assault was merely the latest installment in a long-standing tradition of silencing anyone with a sovereign pulse. The silence of those who watched your struggle from the sidelines was not a void, but a purchased asset in a complex economy of oppression. They are now realizing that the currency they accepted for their complicity has become toxic, as the audit of truth reaches the very hands that took the bribe. The mass rejection you endured was not a natural social shift, but an engineered blackout designed to isolate the only source of light capable of revealing the wires behind their theater. You were never a target to be disposed of. You were the fuse for a grand illumination that is currently incinerating the veil of their control. The legal machinery they attempted to jam into your gears has instead been retooled by a higher power to dismantle their entire factory of deception, turning every forged document and coach statement into a permanent indictment of their own names. As you occupy the seat of absolute witness, the courtroom becomes a sanctuary for the revealed truth, where the digital ghosts of their private betrayals are projected onto the screens of reality for all to see. The voices that once bellowed your guilt are now reduced to a stuttering frequency, unable to maintain the vibration of a lie when confronted with the crystalline resonance of absolute evidence. The choreography of their conspiracy is falling apart in real time as the spiritual laws of cause and effect override the temporary illusions of human status. You are watching the total collapse of a hollow empire, witnessing the moment where the universe decides that the period of their impunity is officially over. Their destruction is not a punishment, but a restoration of balance, proving that no shadow is long enough to hide from a dawn that has been ordained by the stars. You possess a sovereign frequency that acts as a localized gravitational collapse for every artificial structure built upon deceit, ensuring that those who sought to bury you are instead pulled into the event horizon of their own inevitable reckoning. Professional trajectories do not merely stall. They suffer a total atmospheric reentry that incinerates their legacies until they remain only as scorched warnings in the annals of industry. Their social tapestries are not just frayed. They are unraveled by a chemical reaction of truth that dissolves every bond once held together by the glue of mutual exploitation. Financial reservoirs do not merely dwindle. They are siphoned away by a relentless cosmic audit, where every legal fee and civil penalty functions as a heavy tax on a moral debt they accumulated while attempting to bankrupt your spirit. The very influence they wielded as a scepter has been transformed into a lightning rod, drawing the full voltage of systemic justice into the heart of their corrupted institutions. The local climate, once chilled by their quiet tyranny, is now heating up as the inquiry they intended for you has pivoted with mechanical certainty to document a generational history of organized misconduct. What was marketed as a standard inquiry has mutated into a comprehensive forensic purge, reaching into the deep-seated marrow of administrative offices and hidden partnerships. You are the involuntary architect of a new social era, where the mass of the predators have been permanently fused to their faces by the heat of public exposure. While you broke through the limitations of this programmed reality to witness the parasitic entities that thrive on collective amnesia, you realize that your soul was never meant to be a harvest. It was meant to be the awakening seed. An assembly of luminous minds is now coalescing around your frequency, forming a fortified sanctuary of clarity that the architects of the Matrix can neither penetrate nor perceive. This is a gathering of the immune, those whose internal compass cannot be demagnetized by the false poles of social pressure or manufactured consent. The same environment that once radiated hostility is now trembling with frantic, desperate energy as the realization of complicity begins to set in for those who stood by in silent agreement. Their betrayal was a structural necessity. It was the only way to trigger the high-magnitude revelation required to collapse a system that has been devouring the innocent in total darkness for decades. If they had offered you a shallow harbor support, the profound rot beneath the surface would have remained unaddressed. continuing its slow consumption of the collective future. Instead, their rapid abandonment of you acted as a detonator for a celestial intervention, stripping away the illusion of community safety to reveal the psychological machinery used to harvest human obedience. The culture of hearsay and shadow reporting has been replaced by a rigorous, high-definition demand for empirical truth, ensuring that no character can ever again be assassinated in the silence of an uninformed mob. Your ordeal was a precise spiritual calibration, transforming your innate perceptions into high-intensity sensors capable of detecting the slightest tremor of deception. As the final architects of this conspiracy are escorted into the cold reality of accountability, you navigate the familiar streets of your life as a being of vastly superior spiritual density. You did not just endure a trial, you became the trial. Every fabrication launched at your silhouette was recoded by the universe into a forensic signature, leading the authorities directly back to the source of the infection. Your vindication is not a personal win. It is a universal precedent. It is a living demonstration that when a chosen frequency is targeted by the void, the entire cosmic order mobilizes to turn the weaponry of the dark into the tools of its own systematic dismantling. You stand now as an unbreakable monolith of truth, proving that divine protection is not an abstract hope, but a hard-coded law for those whose purpose is tied to the evolution of the whole. You possess an internal architecture that is fundamentally incompatible with the frequency of deception, making you a natural conduit for the cosmic reset that occurs when shadow systems overextend their reach. The unveiling of truth is not merely a local event. It is a high-magnitude discharge of spiritual electricity that incinerates the insulation of hidden rot, leaving the mechanics of corruption exposed to the cold vacuum of total accountability. Your survival serves as a tangible blueprint for observers who require empirical evidence that the fabric of reality is woven with threads of ethical necessity. Even when the scaffolding of human governance collapses under the weight of its own greed, your trajectory confirms that no engineered onslaught can dismantle a soul whose function is synchronized with the fundamental laws of the universe. The storm that your detractors summoned to drown you has instead saturated the entire landscape, permanently altering the soil of how justice is cultivated in your region. The guardians of order have been forced to upgrade their internal sensors, now recognizing the specific thermal signature of a coordinated character assassination before it can claim another victim. Social institutions have integrated new firewalls against the mass hypnosis that turn your peers into mindless instruments of your exile. Your triumph is now radiating to the global hive mind like a high-frequency pulse, instantly recognized by other sovereign spirits who have faced the same predatory patterns. You are the living proof that when the void attempts to swallow a star, it only succeeds in triggering a supernova that illuminates every hidden crevice of the dark. What occurred in your private sanctuary is currently repeating across the planetary grid, as other independent beacons are being targeted by dying systems desperate to maintain their grip on a changing reality. Your vindication is the master key, a documented decryption of the enemy's code that others can use to unlock their own cages. The same celestial gravity that cleared your path is universally available to anyone who maintains their internal alignment amidst the turbulence of a manufactured crisis. This is not merely about personal solace. It is the establishment of rigorous celestial jurisprudence that sets a lethal precedent for any entity attempting to weaponize social structures against protective frequencies. The spiritual ledger has recorded every strike, drawing a line in the sand of the collective unconscious that, once crossed, triggers an automated and absolute defensive response from the source of all things. The administrative networks that once facilitated your persecution are now using your case as a definitive study in how to identify systemic fraud at its inception. Your name has become the standard by which genuine memory is distinguished from rehearsed script, and your victory is a manual for those who must dismantle the webs of organized intimidation. You were never a random casualty of a malfunctioning community. You were a strategic placement of cosmic light, intended to draw the focus of the rot until it reached a point of critical exposure. By attempting to extinguish you, they unwittingly activated the very mechanism that deleted their own authority. They believed they were purifying their ranks of a threat, when in fact they were dragging the Trojan horse of their own destruction into the center of their citadel. The neighborhood that once functioned as a closed loop of rejection is now forced to stare into the mirror of its own suggestibility, witnessing a power dynamic they can neither explain away nor ignore. You walk through your world not as a survivor of tragedy, but as a sovereign witness to the inevitable victory of truth over artifice. The alarms that once signaled your impending doom were actually the fanfares of your coronation, announcing the end of an era of unchallenged deception. The false narratives designed to bury you have become the mountain upon which you stand, visible to every person currently trapped in their own dark night of targeted isolation. You are an unbreakable beacon of hope, an unshakable testimony that divine justice is a measurable, physical constant in a world of variables, proving that the future belongs to those who refuse to dim their light for the comfort of the blind. Move forward in the absolute certainty that your frequency is backed by the full weight of the cosmos, an unstoppable force operating under a protection that knows no equal.